Mr. Bragg and Ms. Blumberg, thank you both for joining us on Picks on Politics. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, DA Bragg, I'd like to go ahead and start with you. You created the Special Victims Department this summer. Why did you feel this was necessary to create at this moment?
Well, there's no more important issue facing Manhattan and New York. We know that nationally, sex crimes are the most underreported violent crime. We wanted to focus on our model here and have a division that's focused and continue to do great work, focused on survivors and centering their trauma. And so we wanted to drive more resources and to really make it a prominent, really focal point for what we do going forward.
Ms. Blumberg, you were chosen to lead the Sex Crimes Division. Talk to us. What are your top priorities, especially since you are now part of this new division within the office?
So we want to make sure that the other sex crimes unit supervisors and myself execute District Attorney Bragg's vision, which is to ensure that sexual assault survivors are heard and feel emotionally supported from the moment they walk through the front doors of our office. And that includes really having a holistic and trauma-informed approach where survivors and their needs come first. So as DA Bragg just mentioned, he is very committed to having additional resources and training to ensure that we have the best possible experience for all survivors who have the courage to come forward and report that they were the victims of sexual assault.
The NYPD's Special Victims Unit, they're now under investigation by the Department of Justice. Officers face accusations of mishandling victims of abuse, including re-traumatizing them during investigations. So, Mr. Bragg, does that DOJ investigation impact your office, and if so, how?
Well, you know, as you know, maybe viewers may not know, I'm a former federal prosecutor from the Southern District of New York, and the last thing I want to do and wouldn't want anyone to do in our investigations is to, speak publicly and prejudice them. But certainly we stand at the ready to be helpful and to assist in that inquiry into the NYPD's practices. Obviously, we partner with the NYPD every day and share the objective of supporting survivors.
Okay, and Mr. Bragg, I also want to ask, how much will that newly created unit in your office now work in tandem with the NYPD? You touched on it a bit, but I'd like to hear a little bit more.
Well, we work hand in hand, across, whether it's, gun violence, domestic violence, sex crimes with the NYPD. Obviously, we also have our own, independent staff, which includes, I just want to note for viewers, not just the talented legal staff we have, but our witness aid unit, which has extraordinary counselors supporting survivors. So we're working to develop cases. We're working to do community outreach to have people reach out to our office, and we are also supporting survivors through our counselors. So we're doing that whole range of work.
Ms. Blumberg, when a survivor of a sex crime comes forward to report what happened to them, are there rights they have that they should be aware of?
Yes, they absolutely have rights that they should be aware of, and we take those rights very seriously. Some sexual assault survivors have advocates, some have lawyers. Certainly none of that is necessary, but we make sure that all survivors' rights are protected, and again, with the idea to give them the best possible experience they can have here, so that they are both being emotionally supported and heard.
And in terms of confidentiality, what can they expect when they, report a crime to your office?
Confidentiality is extremely important to everyone in law enforcement. So we do our very best to ensure that that they're certainly not hearing from us that a survivor is down here or meeting with us, and we take our investigations and that confidentiality very seriously.
Mr. Bragg, I also want to ask about your prosecution of an uptown bodega worker, Jose Alba. Alba fatally stabbed a man who jumped over the counter. Your office initially charged Alba with murder, but since then there's been this public outcry that this was a case of self-defense. So what are you now charging Alba with, and how does this case move forward from here?
Yeah, so public safety is my top priority. Shootings and homicides are down Manhattan year to date, and that we're focused on that like a laser. It's an ongoing matter, so I can't comment too much. As you said, that the case was brought into us after the NYPD arrest, presented as a murder. We we maintain that charge in court. The next phase is we're continuing to investigate going forward, and I can't really talk a lot about that, but that's what we do. We kind of receive matters after there's been an incident, and we assess. We talk to witnesses, review evidence. We are in that phase now. We worked with defense counsel from the beginning, to sort of arrange for a bail package, and so now he's not in custody as we continue to investigate this serious matter.
I appreciate that update, and DA Bragg, since we have you here and we are a political show, I have to ask about the upcoming race for New York governor. The Republican nominee, Lee Zeldin, says he wants to fire you on day one. How do you respond to that?
Look, I'm focused on doing this important job, this solemn obligation that Manhattan voters have entrusted me with, and that is to focus on public safety, focus on gun violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse. That's where my focus is. My focus is not on politics.
All right. And, you're 6 months into the job now. How are you feeling? And how do you feel your performance has been so far as Manhattan District Attorney?
We're working hard every day with the career public servants here who are so dedicated, focused on public safety, focused on fairness in our system. As I said, year to date, homicides and shooting numbers are down. That's something that we're focusing on. But we know we have more work to do. We're doing it every day. We talked today about our Special Victims Division, which is important. Happy to come back and talk about the work we're doing on gun violence, human trafficking, hate crimes. We're working every day to make Manhattan safer and our system fairer.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot during this conversation. Mr. Bragg, Ms. Blumberg, thank you both for coming on Picks on Politics.